Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Corey.
KJ.
And Mike.
Wow, that was such a terrible introduction for your name. You just, Corey.
You want to do it again?
No, I want people to hear how terrible that was.
I'm tired.
So this week we are talking about
working.
Stranger Things, which just had part of season 4 air, and we get the other part in July, which is just going to be 2 episodes, but it's like 4 hours long. But we did get 7 episodes.
2 full-length movie episodes.
Basically. And we did just get 7 episodes that were almost full-length movies for each one. Each one was like an hour and 15 rather than their normal runtime of like 40 minutes in the first 3 seasons. So let's first start talking about that. How did you guys feel about the longer episodes? Do you think it detracted from it? Do you think it would have been better broken up? Or do you think it was kind of spot on?
I can watch Stranger Things for hours. They didn't seem like they were too long.
I could watch this season of Stranger Things for hours. I can't remember if it was season 2, I think, was not quite as engaging for me.
Yeah, season 2 definitely wasn't as engaging with 11 going out and trying to be a goth and hooking up with other people like her.
With the Lost Boys and
yeah,
stuff.
It definitely didn't grab you as much. Season 1 was fantastic. I could sit there and watch that entire season, and then this season, I could also watch the entire season. And last season, season 3, I probably need a little bit of a break every couple episodes because it was engaging, but it wasn't, oh my God, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's going to happen next? Unlike this season, which has really ramped it up.
I think this season, the big difference for me is you have a villain who you can actually has a personality and more than just some monster.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's able to justify what he's doing. Not justify, but he's able to explain what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Yeah, well, you get that from the backstory part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that type of villain where it's not just a big bad in the shadows where there's creatures trying to attack you definitely is better for any, if you're talking about a movie, if you're talking about a TV show, even if you're talking about a book, if you're able to give that character more layers for them being a villain, and then us as the viewer or reader can potentially see their side of things, it just adds that much more depth to the character, which then makes them more interesting to watch.
And you get little pieces of information over the season 2, so you get just enough so you're like, oh, okay, as you go on, when you finally realize that 1 is the monster. And
so you didn't mean season TWO, you meant season TOO. You said season 2, and I got very confused.
During the season, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well.
Season 4.
Yeah,
as well, yeah. All right. I was just making sure, because I was like, season. If you like season 2, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it was okay. It got us to where it needed to go, but it just wasn't as engaging. But, yes, it did give us little snippets. Did you pick up on that throughout, that he was potentially number 1 and that he was going to be the villain?
As soon as they're like, what happened to 1, and you kind of see him, not, I want to say grooming her, but kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Spacey like.
So I called it pretty early on that was 1. I didn't know that he was Vecna right off the bat, but like during that episode where you see that he was, it's kind of like as soon as you realize that he was 1 and that he had, I'm going to say became evil, but that's when you're like, okay, I know right where this is going.
Right, yeah. There were hints along the way, but as soon as you got to that episode, as soon as she pulled that thing out of his neck, or destroyed the thing out of his neck, everybody should have instantly light bulb went off. Yeah. Oh, this is where the things go off the rails.
So for me, it was like in the beginning, you see 11's having flashbacks to the destruction that happens and like all the death that happened in the lab. And so as you start to realize, like, I never thought she did that. Like, right off the get-go, I was like, somebody else did it.
If you've watched any TV show, that's kind of obvious.
They didn't, right, that's my point. So once you know that, and then you realize that somebody else did that, and you see the way the bodies are being mangled by Vecna, I kind of connected the dots at that point that he, or whoever did that, is the same person as Vecna. Mm-hmm. So once you realize 1 is probably the person who did that, it became kind of clear that he was probably Vecna too to me. But the issue I have is that we still don't really, like, they show it briefly, but I don't understand how he becomes Vecna. Like, how is he alive?
So she throws him into
I get that.
the upside down.
Yeah.
And then as he's like hurling himself through the air,
He gets hit
things
by
He's being hit by lightning.
yeah, he gets hit by lightning and he survives that and it mutates him into this beast.
So I guess that's the thing that confuses me is how, like, because other people have gone in the upside down and not been mutated.
Sure, but this
Like the kid.
they
She
didn't show
like
anybody
hit
getting
him
struck
with like
by
psychic
lightning.
energy
That
too.
too.
Like he looks like he's like kind of falling apart
That,
as he's
and we
being
don't-
ripped into.
We don't know anybody else who's psychic who's been in the upside down either. He's the only one that's been in the upside down that's been psychic. So him being there struck by lightning caused this other mutation to happen.
So I'm not saying that they might not explain it better, but if they leave it like it is, to me, it doesn't feel like it's explained thoroughly enough. But that's
I
just
thought
me.
they did enough to appease me, but I get what you want. You want
Yeah.
a little bit more, but I thought the scene that they did with him flying through, getting hit by the lightning,
Right.
I thought that showed us exactly kind of how he did that.
I'm assuming that in what is it? Episode 8 is the next one coming
Yes.
up. So I'm assuming that they're going to show his subtle transformation in the upside down to Vecna.
Well, it didn't seem subtle. It seemed like as he got hit by lightning, he became Vecna
Well,
like immediately.
it's not that he became Vecna,
Well,
so
he-
to speak.
he got all the-
Yeah, he got the burns and everything else, and he turned into this figure. But you're also talking about when she shoved him through into the upside down to the point where she is now, how many years have gone by? So he's been in the upside down for this many years. In between that time where she threw him, when 11 threw him through the portal, and now where we're just seeing him. So that's how he was able to develop all these other things.
I'm kind of hoping it's they show him like starting to have a connection with the like the roots that they say is
The
part of
big
this.
bad.
Well, that they say is part
So-
of like the central nervous system
Mhm.
of the upside down, because that would make sense because you see him in scenes where he like extends his tendrils and
Yeah.
that might be him connecting to the
Well, it looks like the
nervous
tendrils going into him.
Well, sure, but that's my point. Like that might be him establishing the connection to
With
the
the-
upside
yeah.
down like nervous system.
Well, I think that's how he uses the connection to
The
then
real
project
world.
him. Exactly.
Yeah, he uses
Yeah.
his psychic abilities into the real world. Now, the question that I have for that is, so he's supposed to be Vecna. Now, either one of you have any like D&D lore that you know of?
No,
Not
and we're
enough to
and we're
matter.
only calling him Vecna because they called that D&D villain Vecna.
well, that's
Right, so-
it's the
so
same
it's-
as the demigorgon.
Right,
I-
so
I
the,
agree.
the Demigorgon is, like, if you've actually seen or read any, like, the monster manual or anything like that for D&D, the Demigorgon is a powerful creature that's in D&D.
Yeah.
But Vecna is actually more powerful or is a higher being than the Mind Flayer. And from my understanding, in the show, the Mind Flayer is supposed to be like the big bad, like the big, like, crawling creature that you see in season 3, I think.
So
or no, at
that's-
the end of season
that's
2.
only what Dustin says. We don't know for sure. We think because Dustin says he believes Vecna is like one of the generals for the Mind Hive,
The Mind Flayer.
Mind Flayer.
Well,
So
he
we
thinks
don't
he's
actually
opening
know.
gateways. Like he
Yes.
thinks that's like he's
Like,
one
that's
of his
his main
generals and
purpose.
he's opening gateways. But I think what we've seen from his backstory now is that yeah, that might be true, or he might just be continuing what he was doing in the real world originally, and opening gateways is just a byproduct of that.
Well, I don't know if they're going to go with like the actual lore of D&D where he would actually be like he would be higher than a Mind Flayer. Like a Mind Flayer is not like a leader of like a world. It's just like the Mind Flayer would be the general to Vecna. Like Vecna is a considerably higher being.
So I don't know. We're only obviously going off of what Stranger Things has told
Right,
us.
that's what I'm saying. I wonder if it's going to like foreshadow, like as we go into season 5, if we'll kind of see him. He is actually the one that's pulling the strings.
It's very possible. However, with them never fully exploring the Mind Flare, I still think it's going to be that is where we get in the final season of season 5. Like the
Right.
final culmination is that, just because they've been building it up the last few seasons. I just think this is a very good villain that they pulled out of thin air, basically, that made this season above and beyond most of the others.
Right.
Like, this to me is probably my favorite season, right with season 1. It might even be a little bit better than season 1. Just because of the...
better.
What?
I think it's better because the acting is better.
I was going to say the acting, the story,
Yeah.
even the cinematography in this just seems to be better than season 1, because I think they had this all fleshed out of exactly what they wanted to do. And season 1, they had some ideas and they knew what they kind of wanted to do. But season 4 seems like so much work went into it to the point where it's almost, I don't want to use the word masterpiece because there are some problems with it, but for the most part, like, it is very solid from start to finish.
It has my favorite scene yet in Stranger Things, which is the end of episode 4 when what's her name, Max, is escaping Vecna. I love that. I love
Yes,
the
we can
music.
tell the excitement in your voice. It just comes out of you that this is the episode that everybody should watch for that ending. I can tell. Yes.
Yeah.
Is she gonna get hit by a house?
So Corey and I were talking, and we honestly think for that character and for that scene, if she died and didn't make it out, I think it's more impactful for that scene because they're trying their hardest. They just figured out a way to save her. Should they have saved her? It's a little bit of a cop-out that they saved her, where it could have been her running for that exit and just missing it just barely and dying.
And Stranger Things is known for getting rid of characters that are well-liked. Like, you have the boyfriend in one of the seasons.
Season 1, they kept him.
No, the one that plays the guy in Lord of the Rings. Samwise?
Sean Astin.
Winona Ryder's boyfriend.
So he's like a well-liked character. They kill him off.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, that was a character sacrificing himself.
That's the only one I can think of, though.
Well,
where
they
killed
were supposed to kill.
Well, I get it, but that's what I'm saying. The only one they actually killed that was liked and he wasn't even like a main character. See, that's why I feel
Billy was another like higher.
I was happy they killed Billy.
Well,
Did anyone
you were
miss
supposed
him?
to be. He was supposed to be an abusive stepbrother, bit of an asshole jock. So when he died, it kind of seemed like they were making up for not killing Steve in season 1.
Well, and he redeemed himself at the end by
yes.
Yeah. But
well, so would have Steve if he would have died. So he would have redeemed himself just like he did in season 1, except he would have died in it.
I just think it would have added a layer of like reality to it. Which obviously it's not a reality-based show, but you have all
it's not.
There
aren't these
kids.
things.
Well, you have all these like kids fighting these incredible monsters, and they always seem to like win. You know, so it would have been kind of added a realism to it if. Oh, there's actually real consequences for this, and now we lost one of our best friends.
Yeah, not to mention 4 of them go in the upside down.
Yeah.
And they just come out basically unscathed.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm glad they didn't kill her, because I do think she's the best actress amongst all those kids.
I think she's had the best story. So, like, in season 3, I didn't think her acting was amazing. It didn't, like, stand out.
She didn't have enough scenes to, like, make
That's kind of my point about season 4. Like, her story has given her those scenes where she's able to put on a performance.
Yeah, and my point is the other kids have had those opportunities and aren't as good as her. So.
Yeah, I thought 11 was fine in season 1 and season 3.
I like Dustin.
Dustin's always funny.
I like
comic
all
relief.
of them, but it's
so
just,
good.
Yeah,
my biggest gripe with season 4 is actually 11. I didn't care about any of her scenes up until episode, I think it's 6, where she works on trying to get back her powers. I didn't care about anything going on with her when she moved to a different school and was fighting with this.
I feel like that's foreshadowing how she doesn't fit in, and I feel
Corey
like
said the same thing.
That might have something to do with like the ending, where one might be trying to get her to join him because she is more like him than she is like anyone else.
Sure, I just didn't find it interesting. Like those are the
you have to build up. You have to build up to like her anger and how she could just go out and hit someone with a roller skate.
I get it. I just didn't. There was no connection with those scenes for me like there were in other seasons with her. In season 1, I was connected to her from the get-go. In season 3, everything with her and Hopper, I was connected with, and everything with her romance with. Now I've forgotten his name. Mike? Yeah.
Mike, really?
With the. That's right, Mike.
I don't get it.
I I was connected with all those scenes, and in this one, in the first few episodes, I just didn't care about anything going on with her character. Not until they gave her the choice, hey, do you want to go back to your friends, or do you want to come with us to try to get your powers back and maybe save the world? Only then did I start caring about what was actually going on with her. I think you needed all that stuff to happen to lead up to this point. I just didn't care. I was more interested of what was going on in the town with Steve, with Robin, with Nancy, yada yada.
It's because Steve is awesome.
Steve is awesome.
Yeah.
The fact they saved his character proves that.
You know, it's interesting you brought up like how they tie in Dungeons and Dragons, because now I'm starting to think like if the characters in the show are supposed to be like certain types
Classes.
Yeah, because you have
paladins.
Dusty who sings, so he's like a bard.
He's a
right?
bard.
Yeah. And then you have Hopper, who's like a berserker, pretty much. He's just like a big brute who beats on people. I don't know. And then you have Elle, who's like psychic.
Cleric.
And, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you could probably go back and watch season 1 in the first episode. I think they
see what they were.
Yeah, see what they were,
Yeah.
and that might be foreshadowing for how it's been this entire season.
I did just start rewatching season 1 because I hadn't seen it. Well, I don't know if I ever rewatched it before, but it's really good.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, especially for it only being 4 seasons. It's been 6 years because they had a couple gaps there.
And so they definitely have a season 5, but that's it?
Yeah, season 5
Okay.
will be the end of the show.
Have they announced how many episodes yet?
They have not.
Oh, okay.
They also haven't announced when they're going to start filming or when it's going to be released. I don't know if it's going to be 2023. I don't know if it's going to be longer. Like we've had the gaps before that were a year and a half, 2
They're
years.
be like 30 by the time. Like,
I mean, you can already tell that with some of their ages right now, how old they're supposed to be. And you're like,
Yeah,
wait a
they
second.
said something about a time jump. Like I've read an article about the Duffer Brothers saying that there's going to be a time jump between season 4 and season 5. So I wonder if that is
indicative because of their own ages.
maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a bit of a tribute to Stephen King, because like It Part 1, Part 2, you have the
Like the 30-year.
the big
Time
time
jump.
jump, and they
Yeah.
love Stephen King, so I mean,
It could be,
it's
or
basically a tribute to Stephen King, this entire series.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also just 80s nostalgia galore.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
so much stuff in the 80s that you watch this show, and obviously we were born at the end of the 80s, basically.
So I wonder if like we're going to start out like early 90s then.
it depends what the time. What year are they supposed to be in?
86, I think.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I thought it was
Yeah.
86. But even if it's a time jump of 5 years, yeah, you'd be. Or my assumption it would be like 89 because they're trying to end it in the before it gets to the
I
90s.
was there. I was 1 year old.
I was 1 year old. You were too.
Yeah. Good
Not
math.
2, but 1 as well. So we have with this show a series that is something that is almost a throwback to movies and TV shows in the 80s. Not only just the nostalgia fact, but the way they're filming it. Did that hook you guys at all, or did you even notice that? Or was it just you're interested in the story and the characters and that's what you want to
I
focus
love the
on?
soundtracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the
Love
the
that new
synth the
song.
synth music gets me.
They do have good tunes.
Like like just the intro music to the show.
yeah.
Like I was hooked as soon as I saw the intro.
As soon as you saw or as soon as you heard, or both.
Well, yeah, both.
Yeah.
I mean, visually it's not that great. You just see the Stranger Things,
Yeah.
lettering and everything coming in. But yeah, hearing it. like,
Yeah, the sound
I-
definitely is one of those that sticks in your brain.
Oh
too.
yeah,
Gives you
my
that,
ringtone,
ooh, what's
actually.
gonna?
it is. I still have it.
It's gonna be like, ooh, what is this show? Let's see what else they have to do. Corey, did you feel there was something about anything of the cinematography that made you feel like it was a throwback to the 80s and that's what hooked you, or did you just notice it while you were watching?
I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but to me, Stranger Things is like elevated 80s style. So like it's 80s style at its essence, but it's just elevated to not be as campy and cheesy.
Yeah.
So the effects are better. The
This
story's
show
better.
should be campy. Like if
It
you
should-
hear
yeah.
about the premise of the show, you're like, oh god, that sounds very campy. They pull it off where it's not campy and it's this serious take on something that can be extremely terrifying. I was very impressed they're able to kind of like thread that needle.
So horror genre in general, like it's really easy to be campy. And I was watching this interview with, I think his name's John Barenthal, the guy who played Punisher.
Yeah.
But he was talking about when he read the script for Walking Dead, and he turned down another series just so he could audition for the hope of being Shane on Walking Dead. And his justification was like, you see zombie shows, movies come and go, and often the script is kind of like trash, and it's really just about zombies, and it's supposed to just be a thriller. But he thought the Walking Dead script was so good. And I mean, you think of Walking Dead, and then you think of all those like Netflix zombie shows, like there's one called like Black Mass or something, or Black Death, I can't remember, but it's crap. And then
There's
you
a
have
lot
a
of
show
them.
like Walking Dead that's just elevated. So that's kind of like the same mindset for me with Stranger Things. It's that kind of, sci-fi action kind of thing, but it's just done really, really well.
When season 1 was announced, did you guys immediately start watching it, or was
yeah.
it something?
Yeah.
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 It wasn't one of those shows that you were like, let's see what the fans say about it or the critics, and then maybe I'll watch it.
I feel like I remember seeing the preview for it, and like I was hooked on the preview. It was like I looked forward to watching it, and it was one of those shows that I actually watched and liked like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So,
And same with you, Corey.
Yeah. Basically, I saw it, and
It was
like,
fresh.
at the minimum, I'm gonna have a
like
nostalgia
there's
trip.
no show out there that's like it.
Right. I thought it was a perfect time to do a throwback to the 80s, really hardcore TV show-wise, where you're getting all that nostalgia, because we're in the 2016, so you're already 30 years removed or so. It gives you a good vantage point of going like, hey, back in the 80s, all this stuff happened, making us all feel old, but you get to see all this cool stuff like the arcades and the fact that they didn't just have their phones, or they weren't listening to a podcast every other day. They were just going out and enjoying their lives as kids and playing their Dungeons and Dragons and
It's
doing
a
everything
great
else.
plug for a podcast.
I thought so.
Go out and enjoy your life and don't listen to the podcast.
Turn off this podcast and go back to the 80s.
You can go enjoy your life, but just have headphones in while listening to the podcast. It's easy. I didn't start right like episode 1 where it dropped on a Friday or something and started watching. I think it was like a week or two later when I started hearing, hey, you should probably give it a shot. And then I started watching it. And after I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, okay, I actually really like this. And then I just binged the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I binged it pretty much when I watched the first episode and then got hooked. So,
I feel like you binge a lot of shows.
yeah, I mean,
Didn't you just binge season 4?
well, I didn't watch it all in one night. I watched it over the course of a couple of days.
Up till 3 a.m. watching it to finish it?
I don't know if I was up to 3 a.m. I stayed up late to watch the end of it. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And episode 4 is like one of the few times when I've just watched a season that I went back and watched an episode just because I thought that one was like perfection.
did you watch the full episode?
Yeah. I've seen the clip of the part I really like at the end like 500 times because it's on Facebook. It's like it knows I liked that scene.
It does. As soon as you like
You
it,
should
once
say
I'm
it's
not the
on.
only one. Though.
I really
There's a
like
bunch-
that scene.
I agree. Everybody talks about that episode in general. Not so much that scene. It's a good scene, but people are mostly talking about the full episode, that it's the best episode out of the 7 so far. Potentially out of the series, just because you get the full acting performance of the girl that plays Max.
Yeah.
You get to see the fact that thinks she's about to die, and isn't it called Dear Billy? It's a
Yeah.
letter to
Yeah,
a
yeah.
brother, it's supposed to be. So you get that whole, I'm going to die thing, her trying to get in touch with her own mortality.
And a great song.
It is a
song.
great song. It's a great scene with her and her mom that's not real. It's just in her head when she's out
Yeah.
hanging clothes. I thought that was a really good scene. I think Vecna is a great villain for instilling terror in these kids. It's done really well. No matter which person he eventually ends up killing, everything he shows them from their past is absolutely terrifying for them.
No, are they?
It's a bit Freddy Krueger though.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
I know, but basically he enters your mind when you're like,
Not when you're sleeping, just anytime.
It's like you're not sleeping, but you're in like a daydream.
Yeah, but everybody else. So with Freddy Krueger, you have to keep yourself awake or else he gets into your dreams. Vecna just goes in anytime he wants.
Well, unless you're listening to music to keep yourself
Exactly.
awake.
So
from
clearly
his
vines
trance.
are more powerful than the machete blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds fine to me.
So my question is like, so he kills the people and then keeps their soul is a trophy? Like what?
I don't think it showed a soul.
Well, it shows
so to
like
speak.
their like body like
Yes.
on like pillars.
Well, where he sucks them in, yeah. And I think Corey mentioned it earlier because they were thinking that they were just making portals. So I think he's doing both. I think those are like trophies of them, that people that he's killed, but it's also just their portals into the world.
He might be like pulling their mind into it.
That's what I'm
more than
saying. Like, so
anything.
is their mind trapped in the underground now, or the upside down?
They haven't shown or told us yet.
Weird.
And it's not like no one's even tried to get anybody out of those either.
Now,
Like,
did anyone catch the grandfather clock on the therapist's neck?
I did not.
So she wears a necklace.
You're talking about the guidance counselor?
the guidance counselor,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So she has a gold necklace of what looks like a small grandfather clock,
I did not catch that.
which seems to be like the foreshadowing all through. Like you see the grandfather clock all through the
Well, part of the reason you see that clock is because it was in that
the
house.
house,
Right.
Well, I mean that makes sense.
But
though,
all the people that he goes through are ones that have been through the guidance counselor.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if like somehow he is in control of her.
or maybe she like maybe he came to her mind or whatever, and now she's like a follower. Because when they're doing the campaign in the beginning, they're saying there's a cult that worships Vecna.
Right.
So maybe she's one of the cultists who worships him.
Yeah, who's kind of giving him who he should go after
Right.
because she's talking to them all during the guidance thing. If that's accurate, that's a good catch because I didn't even put that two and two together. You see her in like 2 episodes for all of like 2 minutes, so it would make sense for her to be a major more player that you're not supposed to pick up on. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that at all. I was just thinking the clock was in Vecna's house. That's why you keep seeing the clock in their own visions.
Yeah, I mean the clock is definitely significant because of his backstory, but
Yeah.
But I think it would make sense that that's like his symbol because that's what everybody sees.
Sure.
And so a cultist might have that as like a idol to him.
You think you can dive deep into that in 2 episodes? 2 episodes left. I know
I don't
it's
think
like
you have
4
to
hours.
dive very deep. I think it's like a pretty quick explanation that he touched her mind, and then from that she started to work for him.
But you just think it's one person, or do you think it's a cult?
It could be more than one person, but it doesn't need to be either. Like,
Mhm.
and honestly, you don't need to explain it with every person. You explain her situation, how she came to like worship or follow him,
Yep.
and then ditto for all these people.
Ditto.
I mean, that's basically like
just the ditto marks.
you don't really need any more explanation. He reached out to all these people's mind and did the same thing he did with her.
Right. I mean, she does make sense just because she deals with all these kids. Like, she has the insight to know which ones he should go after that have this experience. Because I was thinking the other day, how did he know who to go after?
Right.
Can he just sense when he's... Because it does show there's one scene where he connects to the hive mind thing, whatever it's called again, and then he kind of projects himself into the real world when he's trying to like pick a next victim, and then he ends up picking that
It's very
jock.
Professor X and Cerebro.
Yes,
Like,
a
that's
little
all
bit
I can
like
think
that.
of, like,
But I wonder if the way he was able to pick him before he went into his mind is because of the therapist. Because obviously, I'm sure that guy probably talked to the therapist as well.
well, I feel like it's more the therapist might tell him these are people who will be susceptible to your influence.
Right.
Yeah. And so he was looking for that guy because of that. Not so much that like he has some special connection to him or anything.
Well, that was my point. It's one of those two things. Either he can tell just when he transports himself to the real world who has a screwed up mind and who I can take advantage of, or somebody's telling him.
It would make
one of
more
those.
sense that somebody's telling him, I think.
Yeah.
And I think especially with that catch that I did not catch
Yeah, I
about the
did not
necklace, that seems like that would fit.
I now want to go back and rewatch that
Yeah.
just to see.
Yeah, so like I said, I was watching it, and then I see like a lot of the different things about the grandfather clock, like the one where the grandfather clock is kind of like a casket.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
which.
Yeah.
That's just all picturing in that girl's head, though.
Right, and then like you see her sitting with the therapist, and it's not like subtle. Like her necklace like always seems like it is out to be visible. Like you see it when she's at her home, and when they're doing the therapy session, it is like, and it's a small gold like clock that like has like a long part below it that looks like a small grandfather clock.
That's hilarious to me that you said that you don't think it was put there. It was put there to be visible, and Corey and I didn't see it at all. So it's one of those subtle touches that it's true, if it's true, that's one's a very good catch by you, and two, it's a very good thing that they did in the show, because that would make perfect sense. Because if we go back and rewatch it, which I'm going to do after we end the podcast,
I noticed it mostly because I'm like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, who has a watch as a necklace? And then I'm like looking at it more, I'm like, that kind of looks like a grandfather clock. And I'm like, okay, well, I've seen that a lot during this episode. I wonder where we're gonna go with this. And then, like, I caught that like right after I think the first person starting seeing the clocks.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh well, it seems like all the people that are in therapy are the ones that are being affected. And I was like, yeah, like I called that.
Okay.
Like the therapist had something to do with it.
It's going to be funny when we go rewatch it. It's like a dolphin necklace or something. I'll be like, Mike, that is not a clock.
Or I'd also be super disappointed if he's right and it is a clock, and they don't do that in episode 7.
Oh, if it's a clock,
or 8,
they have to tie into that.
There's if no they way don't, I'll be super disappointed.
Put a grandfather clock on her.
I don't disagree with you, but that's a very good setup for that. Especially because, again, you and I find myself relatively easy to figure out TV shows when it's supposed to be like a thriller or something else.
You do a great job after the fact.
I'm amazing after the fact.
Dude, never wrong.
But I usually, when I watch something, I can go, okay, I think I know where this is going. I have this assumption. And I completely was oblivious to apparently something, according to Mike, that was kind of in every shot. I just thought it was a nothing object. It's a necklace. I'm not paying attention to it.
It's like subtle enough, but she always seems to have it like outside of, like sometimes like girls
you put it underneath your shirt,
tuck their necklace a little bit. It always seems to be outside of what she's wearing and like very visible.
So she's like proudly displaying it, right. And it's their way to kind of tell us this might mean something. Interesting. Well, we'll definitely have to circle back to this because we're going to do a second episode of Stranger Things for this podcast once we finish the next 2 episodes come sometime in July. So we'll have to circle back to this conversation to see if Mike was right or if he got us all excited for nothing and it's just a giant letdown.
Tin hat.
For this show, you guys both have said that you got hooked on it almost right away, even from the previews, you started right from it. What about when season 2 came out and then season 3? So I think we've kind of talked about season 2 with a little bit of a letdown, at least for Corey and I, compared to the first season, compared to where it goes afterwards. But did that get you down at all, or did you think, well, they're going to come back better?
I don't know what I expected for season 3, but I was still going to watch it. Like season 2, it was really like the Lost Boys parts that I did not like. Like you said, when she goes and finds kids that were like her.
Mm-hmm. Right, didn't really have any connection to Hawkins.
Yeah, really boring.
Yeah.
And then she went through like her goth phase at that time too, which is ridiculous looking. But but everything else, like the other storylines in season 2, I didn't hate. So I was never not going to watch season 3, but I definitely was hoping it was going to be an improvement on 2.
Which I think it was, too.
Oh, yeah. 3 was definitely better than 2.
And 4 is potentially better than all of them.
Yeah, 4 is my favorite right now.
Yeah.
4-1, 3-2.
Right now, I still have 1 ahead of 4 just because it hooked me, but we still have 2 more episodes of season 4. So if they can maintain this level that they did so well for the first 7 episodes, I'd probably move 4 ahead of 1.
Yeah, it's a bit like Star Wars. It's funny, I like season 4 better than 1, but in Star Wars, even though Empire Strikes Back is
by far the best,
should be by far the best, the first one will always be my favorite because it's like
what got you
it
hooked.
Introduced me to the world. Like I loved meeting the characters for the first time.
Because A New Hope can also be its own standalone movie.
Yes,
right.
From beginning to end, it's like you don't have to have any other information.
You don't need anything else.
Empire Strikes Back, if you watch it as a standalone movie, you'd be kind of confused as to how they got there.
Waiting for more afterwards too.
Yeah.
And then you got episode 6, where it's just, little
Should've-
Ewok bears running around.
All right, so enough about Star Wars, because we already
Star
did
Trek?
that. I was gonna say Star Trek.
Yeah.
We talked about that too.
God. you're
So
not
back
into
to
I watched
Stranger.
another episode of that last night.
That sounds awful. So for Stranger Things, Mike, for you, when you got into, with excited as you were and how much season 1 hit your expectations, what about season 2 and 3 when they came out? Did they hit your expectations? Were you a little bit low on them? Were you chomping at the bit to get to the next season?
I remember watching season 2 and being, disappointed in the fact that I had higher expectations, because you always watch a season, like you see it, like you watch the first season, you're like, oh man, this is so great. And then you expect them to elaborate on the story and to make it even better and delve deeper. And I feel like they didn't in season 2.
Agreed.
So I didn't hate it. I wanted to watch the rest of the story when season 3 came out, but I had lower expectations going into season 3 because of season 2, and then I really liked season 3 again.
Yep.
So I got right back into it, and I was like, okay, this is really good. And then season 4
Has shattered all expectations.
season 4, I just went in, with the same kind of mindset that I had when I watched season 3, and then it's even better than that. That season 3 and season 4 was what I was expecting season 2 to be. I don't think they dropped the ball in season 2. I just think that there was a lot of things that didn't need to be there to progress the storyline.
Well, I also don't know how much of the storyline in season 2 was that, like, if you just would have went from season 1 to 3 with a little bit of tweaks and changes in regards to like how old they are and the things that they've been through, are you really missing out not having season 2? Like, if you go from season 1 to season 3 when Eleven's living with Hopper and she has the romance with Mike, and they do everything with Billy, and they bring Max in, and then you go to season 4, which is phenomenal, are you really missing out not having season 2?
I can't even remember like what the villain was in season 2.
I think it's the same thing, because God, what's his name? Is it Will? Will still has this connection to the Upside Down, so he's dealing with that, and then he keeps drawing these pictures.
Yeah.
So it's going to attack again.
Season 3 was good.
No, season... like, season 2 was okay, but it was definitely a bit forgettable, and it just didn't hit the same level that 3 did or 4 did.
Right.
With this show, do you think... Well, let's ask a question of, do you think there should be more seasons after 5, or does that depend on how 5 ends?
That's so far. There's so many episodes between now and then.
Well, roughly it's going to be about 12 episodes between now and then. If there's 10 in the last season and there's only 2 more left, it's 12 episodes. I'm just asking, would you want more seasons of a 6, 7, 8, 9? Or if they do a tight story in 5 and they have a good ending,
they
are
could
you
do
fine with the ending?
spin-offs. I feel like they could end with the characters that they have at season 5, and then they could do like the Strangest Things or something, like a spin-off at like a different, like you have a
Weird
Upside
things.
Down somewhere else.
Yeah.
Oh, you could absolutely do like a Stranger Things another place.
Like
doesn't
modern
have to be-
Stranger Things.
So to reference another show that all 3 of us like, Supernatural, I enjoyed all of Supernatural, but
15 seasons.
Yeah, but how much more concise and perfect would it have been if it ended on season 5?
Season 5 would have been the best way to end a series that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it was a great ending.
Yes.
You have, the final battle with Lucifer.
Because that's
and
what it was
Michael.
designed for. It
I
was actually
understand.
designed for, it was either 3 or 4 seasons. I think it was 3. And then that's when they started introducing the angels, because they were like, hey, you're getting really good ratings. Could you stretch it out? And he's like, yeah, I had this other idea. I can go up to 5. We have this clear, concise story. He always had planned on having a concise story.
I know.
Once that kind of gets away from it, they just went off the rails.
So I kind of feel the same way about Stranger Things, but I haven't seen season 5 yet, so I don't know if it's going to be wrapped up nice and tight like that, or if it's something where I'm like, oh god, please don't end it on this.
Right.
But having said that, I think there's kind of a case to be made for both. I would enjoy watching more Stranger Things, but will I look back on it as favorably if they continue on with crappy storylines?
Right.
Right.
Well, I know for me, for
11 is like
Supernatural-
45,
Yeah.
living in a trailer.
I know for me, for Supernatural, I watched every episode every week when it came out, back when cable was a thing before everybody moved to streaming, and then as soon as WB or CW, whatever they're called, ended up getting a deal with Netflix, the day after or the week after the season aired,
The whole
all
season,
episode
yeah.
went on Netflix. I would just binge the whole thing. But if they would have ended it after season 5, you have a better series, period. It's just a better series. So I'm thinking Stranger Things, if they do something in the same realm, where they do something that's satisfying, I think you'll have a better series rather than a longer one. I'd enjoy it longer because you're talking about 10 or 15 years worth of still watching these shows, but it's way different than having like a clear, concise story that just holds up after time.
I don't think that there is enough villains to keep your attention for many more seasons.
You don't think they could come up with more?
I mean, I think they can, but at what point are you just going to be like, okay, like how many villains are there? It goes from like being Stranger Things to being like the Scooby-Doo case, or just
Sure.
fighting monsters here and there. Like
For the sake of fighting monsters.
Right, the difference between Supernatural and Stranger Things is like Supernatural is like all the possibilities of supernatural beings all over creation, whereas I want to say that Stranger Things pigeonholed themselves into just the monsters that they're fighting. But like when you're talking about D&D, I mean, yeah, that there's like smaller villains here and there, but like you're already working your way up to the highest levels of baddies. Like at some point you just gotta like that is the pinnacle.
So my thought would be, if they don't have a main villain, but they still have to deal with the Mind Flave. Once they get through that, which probably is going to be in season 5, my only thought would be one of them has to somehow turn evil. That'd be the only way to potentially keep it going where it's actually interesting for another season, is an 11 going evil, a Mike going evil, a Dustin going evil.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're already foreshadowing 11 turning. I really feel like they're trying to, in this season, kind of foreshadow the fact that she has the ability to just hit someone with a roller skate.
I don't think that's about evil, though. I think that's about her finally expressing herself, compared to she wasn't able to do that before. It wasn't expressing it in a healthy way, mind you, but she already tried to attack this girl before when she threw out her hand and everybody laughed at her because she doesn't have her powers anymore.
She's gonna go to the dark side and slaughter all the younglings.
But I feel so I feel like they're trying to make her so she thinks that she is more like one than she is the rest of the, like all the people.
I don't know though, because he already had his opportunity to try to like convince her.
Yeah, he had the perfect opportunity
before she knew anything, and now she has friends and stuff. I don't foresee that.
Well, true,
happening.
but now she also realizes that she's been out and she's experienced all these things, and now that she's experienced all these things, she knows that she's like those people even less. Like, she has no friends at the new school that she's in. She's being bullied very hard, and she's gotten to the point where she will do, like, actual physically hurt people. She doesn't even need her powers. She'll physically hurt people, and she even says that she doesn't feel like she belongs in this world.
But I think that was also partially because she was having those flashbacks, and that was affecting her perception of, like, what's going on now. She was remembering, thinking she had, like, committed some atrocity. Yeah. And then applying that to her current situation, being like, I don't fit in. Look what I did to people who were like me. Like, it doesn't matter who I'm with. I'm going to always be the odd one out. But I don't know. I do think there's got to be like some big ending to this season, and I feel like it's either going to be. I don't think it's going to be Elle going bad. It could be like Elle sacrificing herself and like trapping herself in the Upside Down to stop him from being able to open gates or something.
I think he is going to give her the opportunity to either not really join him, but stay with him in order to save her friends.
That would be very possible. For while they're in the Upside Down, him going like, I'll let them go if you stay, type of thing. And then he's going to work on trying to turn her into a bad person. That I could see. I could absolutely see that because he already tried to turn her once when he was a human. So him trying to turn her again and using her friends against her would make sense.
I kind of...
She's the new Vader.
I feel like... I'm probably wrong, but I do think it would be a cool thing they did if they kill Mike. No offense, Mike. Because basically that's her strongest connection. And then she would like... Because right now she's still trying to get her power back, pretty much.
Well, she has it a little bit back, but yeah.
But not like she did when she closed the gate. So I feel like if Mike died, that would set her off. And then that could be how they win this time or whatever.
Yeah, it does seem like it seems to happen in moments of extreme stress for her, where her powers kind of like come to full force until she learned to control them. So that absolutely could be it. It could also be Hopper, who actually this time sacrifices himself rather than a fake sacrifice that then he's over in Russia.
I'm also kind of guessing Mike because that kid is like in a bunch of movies now too, so it might be like a scheduling justification, like let's kill him. So
it's unlikely just because I think they all knew that they were planning on 5 seasons.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying like if they were thinking somebody's gonna die to really set her off.
Yeah, I don't think the director is gonna be like, well, we're gonna kill you off because you seem like you're doing really well in all these other projects that you have.
Now,
no, but sometimes
you don't have enough time for us. You're
Actors
dead.
themselves ask.
Right, that's what I mean. He might ask and be like, I think it would be a good way for my character to go out since you were planning on doing something along those lines anyway or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It would make sense. Almost every season has had some type of sacrifice, so I'm going to guess.
I don't think if you're that actor, you're going to sacrifice your 5th season.
Well, he was just in I don't think he has a problem. Like he's in Ghostbusters, he's in a bunch of stuff coming out. I think the person
you think you would give up season 5 of an extremely popular show because he was in Ghostbusters?
Well, if you're going to make more money doing movies than you are TV.
Yeah, most actors want to be in film than TV.
I bet he's making really good money in Stranger Things.
How much do you think Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki made for Supernatural episodes?
Maybe like $1 million total.
For the season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they made something like 8 for each season. Or
8 million?
Yeah, or something like that. Or under, I can't remember. It wasn't a lot. But it came out to...
$8 million a season is pretty high.
Well, I'm talking back
like when Friends that used to get $1 million per episode. So you usually get every single cast member got $24 million. So yeah, I can't foresee Mike leaving. He's making roughly $250,000 per episode here, even though he will make more in movies afterwards. But I think fans would be upset if he's like, I'm leaving this show to go do movies when they know it's only going to be one more season.
Well, I honestly assumed that the person they would kill just based on the story would be the first kid that goes missing.
Will?
Yeah, Will. Yeah. Just because he already has a connection there. He's going through some I don't know, like his relationship. Well, right. But I mean, he has some depression involved with like Mike not valuing his friendship anymore. So I could see Vecna getting in his head, I guess is my point.
I don't see him not valuing the friendship. I think it's Will wanting more of the friendship than Mike wanted.
Will specifically says that when he comes.
Was he supposed to say, "Hey, I'm gay, I love you"?
No, but my point is like he at the minimum he also feels like Mike doesn't care that he's there and he really was just there to see 11.
Sure. So, but I think part of that too, like that painting that he's been doing this entire time that he keeps bringing with him is for Mike, clearly.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think either one of Mike's death makes more sense than Will's, just because it'd be more of an impact for 11, or Hopper's death would be more of an impact to 11. I guess Will's could be an impact for 11 because she's been living with him.
Yeah, it's basically her adoptive brother.
Right. Sure. Point. But you don't really see their connection like you see with Mike, or we used to see in season 3 with Hopper. Like you don't see that connection where you go, oh, him dying, she's gonna freak out and that's how she saves the day or something. I would say Mike or Hopper, or those are basically the only two that really jump to mind for.
Well, it could be like Mike said too, where Vecna could have like Mike about ready to kill him, and then say like, come join me or else I'll
Yeah.
kill him. Like, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah, that
I
would
hope
be a good.
it's more than
That would be a
though.
good twist, and not even a twist, but a good cliffhanger ending. I guess is what I want to say, in the sense of, well, damn it, now I got to wait another year to see what's going to happen with this.
Screw that.
Yeah, I have to think that
It's gonna be like
Vecna
2
gets
years,
his
really.
comeuppance.
Yeah.
What?
I think it's been like 2 years.
Well, I meant for the next season afterwards. It could be a year, it could be 2 years.
Yeah, I don't see it 2023.
You don't think it?
I think it's
At
gonna
least
be
not
longer than
beginning
that.
of it. It might be at the very end or something.
Well, it depends if they're already filming or not, which I have no idea if they're
I
already
don't think
filming.
they are.
I think right now, I just read an article, they're literally still trying to finalize the last 2 episodes of season 4.
Of season, no.
I just read an article
They've
today.
already done and they're filmed and everything's done. They
I
might be
ju-
re-editing.
Well, I didn't mean they were refilming right now. I meant that they're still trying to get those right.
Oh, sure.
The Duffy brothers. I just read an
I
article
think they're
today.
a little bit of perfectionists, so.
Well, and
It could be like a lot of the CGI things too. They might be adding on here.
They
and
might
there.
be trying to cut down the runtime a little bit.
I
don't know.
doubt it. I think
It's
this
only 2 episodes. That's
it is.
Yeah.
That is a bit weird to me that they don't break out. Like, if it's 2 hours and you're releasing it all together, you would think, why not break out 2 hours into 2 1-hour episodes or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be the fact that the story itself can't do that. So if you have that episode where it's all about Max and the episode that you loved, episode 4, if they were to break that into 2
Great
episodes
episode.
because it could have been 40 minutes each episode,
Yeah.
would that have been as good? No, you needed that full hour and 15 minutes.
They could have broken that episode up.
I
fine.
disagree. I think you need that full time for a full episode to watch. Because if you break it up and I have to watch an episode and I come back to it later and watch the episode again, I don't think you have the same impact if you're watching this entire one single
I feel like the first episode
Would
is
not
like
be
the
as good.
lead up. What's
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think if you broke up the 4th episode and say it was like episode 4 and 5, then episode 4, which would be the lead up episode, would not be as loved as episode 5 would be, because episode 5 would have all the cool parts. It
I
would
feel
have
like
the
this
Vecna
next
face
episode
off.
coming out is at 8.
Yes.
That is the lead up episode, and that's at an hour and 15
Yep.
minutes, which is pretty similar to what we've already seen. Then the next one after that is just the finale. Like, there's going to be too much going on to break up. You're going to have just action the whole time.
I don't know about the whole time, but I don't think that it would serve the purpose if they just threw in, we're at 44 minutes or we're at an hour here, let's just cut it. I think it's just supposed to be this long, extended, almost like a movie finale.
Right.
I just hope we get, another song from Dusty and Susie, but
No, I don't see that. I don't even know if they're going to connect. I think we saw Susie once. I doubt she's in any of the other episodes. I thought it was great they added her back in because she was an important moment of season 3. She wasn't a great character in season 3, but it was a good moment. So it was good to see her back, but then adding all those extra characters didn't do anything for me, which is weird to me because I thought Stranger Things has done an amazing job of adding new characters in every season that we care about. So last season we got Max, we got a little bit of Billy, but not really. This season you have, what's his name? The guy running the D&D.
Eddie.
Eddie. You have him, and you have Robin came in season 3, and she has more of a role in this season. The one who's friends with.
I don't think Eddie's going to make it.
Oh, Eddie?
I don't think he's going to make it.
Why?
I'm telling you, Stranger Things has a strange way of picking off characters that have been in an episode the whole time.
Sure.
That aren't main. If you're not a main character in Stranger Things, your time is.
I mean,
short.
he's almost like a main character. Like, he's been in almost every episode since the start.
Billy was
of
in
the
almost
season.
every episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
The boyfriend, Samwise,
Oh, yeah.
Sean Astin.
he was in a lot of the
I mean,
episodes,
he's Rudy, too. Just for the
Yeah,
record.
that's
and he's
fair.
like a really likable character too. He's like super nice.
Well,
Yeah.
that's also one of the things why I thought his character worked amazing in season 1 with the death. Because it made perfect sense for his character to give himself for them.
It was season
then-
2.
Was it? I thought it was season 1 where he
No.
died. I don't remember. Either way. So when he died, I thought it was a perfect place to do it because he gave himself for them and then ended up. That's when Winona Ryder's character kind of realized how much of a good guy he was. Obviously a little bit too late, but it seemed to fit his character. I don't know if it fits Eddie's character to die here, unless again he does something super heroic in the last 2 episodes, because he even says like he doesn't want to jump off the boat to swim down to the Upside Down. The only reason he did it is because the 2 girls jumped in. So if he has that moment, I think it might make sense.
I feel like that's exactly what they're building up to. Like you go into the show with the idea that he's like the bad the bad boy of the school, and like he doesn't really fit in, and even he says like, you would look at me and the way that I am is not really what you expect. And then you get a little bit more when he's on the boat and he's like, I wouldn't jump in to save you. Or so I feel like you're going to get more character development to the point where he will sacrifice himself to save those people.
Maybe he'll just light one up with Vecna and get him to chill the hell out. I'll be like,
that's the other guy. That's the long-haired one.
no, that's Eddie.
I mean, they all smoke
deals.
pods. Yeah,
It's like how him and the cheerleader are
true,
in the
yeah.
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were talking about the pizza guy.
Yeah, the pizza guy. Yeah.
So
I did like that scene with like the army guys are killing people at the house, and the pizza guy just shows up.
Argyle.
are you
Yeah,
aware that
Argyle.
if you call the pizza number on the side of the van,
I've
it
called
actually have you?
Yeah, I called it. You get the little fun little message. I was trying to have it, and then I forgot to have it ready to play for this because it's constantly busy. I called for like 2 hours, and it was just busy. Numbers not in service. Number is busy, and it gives you that little message. But it is funny. Like I've watched a video of it.
Everything's fresh except for the pineapples that come from a can.
He's also a character I didn't really care about, though. Like I don't think he had.
I think he's another good comic relief character. I like him.
It's funny. I liked his character more this season than his buddy, who was Will's brother, the established character. He did nothing for me this season so far.
You're talking about Jonathan?
Is that his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally nothing. In fact, I hope he dies so that the sister there can get
Nancy.
back. Yeah, can get back with
Steve.
Steve. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm blanking
All
on
right,
everybody's
Corey's
name.
no more talking. I'm just going to focus on Mike here,
Yeah.
who might know the character's
Well, no, but
names.
like Steve is awesome. Like
Steve is awesome. That's why they kept him
he
alive.
should be with Nancy because he started out he
was with Nancy.
I know, but he wasn't.
He got that first.
He wasn't like yeah, he had dibs. No, but he wasn't mature. Like I think that's the difference. Is like he's still kind of like a goofy, odd dude, but like now he has grown up a bit, and like they even talk about it. He can get with any woman he wants, but like he doesn't want to, and all these girls keep throwing themselves at him, and he's just like, "You're not the one." Kind of.
I mean, yeah, but he goes out with all of them.
well, I mean,
What's he supposed to do?
I mean, in his
Be
defense
celibate?
too, like the girls that he's going out with don't seem
Intellectual at all?
not at all. They're about
Yeah.
as deep as a mud puddle.
Yeah,
I think they like they joke that they're always after him just because of his hair.
right. It is nice hair. I'm just
Steve the
gonna say.
Hair Harrington.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it would make sense that it comes full circle, and now he comes back around, realizes, what he missed out on, and then she is sick of Jonathan at this point.
I mean, if you're looking at it, he could also die this season too. Look how much character growth
he should have
had.
died already if he was going to die.
Well, look how much character growth this kid has had, even especially in this season with everything that he's done.
I can't imagine he dies again, like dies
For
at
real.
this point, because they've literally, like, he got sucked in. His time to die was getting sucked in through the gate underwater in the lake,
hmm
not like something dumb where Vecna just.
Well, it depends
Shows
on
them
what
up.
happens. Maybe he saves Nancy, because right now Nancy's stuck. Like that's how the last episode ends.
No, if anything, they should kill
She's
Jonathan.
she's
somehow.
like in the pool, right? Like she's
Well, she's in her own mind.
right, but she's like stuck in the pool from her memory.
Yes, of that
Of
other
the night.
nerd.
The
I think what
night.
will probably happen is Steve saves Nancy somehow, and Robin helps him, and then because they're doing it, Eddie helps, and Eddie's the one who dies, like we were saying
Telling
earlier.
you,
It's possible, but if
Eddie doesn't stand
if
a
it wants to
chance.
make sense for Eddie's character, Eddie has to do it first.
I don't even know if that's true. I think what has to happen is they all have to be there, and then Eddie like says, "Go, I'll hold them off" or something, and then basically acts like he would in a D&D campaign.
Right. He's going to roll that D20.
Yeah.
And it's
That
a
would be
Crit 20.
a great last thing. He rolls a
The
D20.
dice.
He's like, nat 20, bitches. Just runs in. Yeah.
Crit.
So
That would be good. I'd like that.
I would be okay with that. Cheesy,
but again, that
would be
goes
okay.
back. You guys both like him as a character because they introduced him well in the show. They've built his character up, and that's something they do very well in the show.
He makes a
with
good
new-
dungeon master, too.
I don't disagree. He seemed to have a really good campaign all built.
So another thing that leads me to think he might die.
He's better than Corey as a DM.
I mean, everybody is.
Well, it's
It's
hurtful.
the hair.
So the hair. That's actually what I was just gonna say. I watched an interview with a bunch of the Stranger Things cast, and he was on there, and his hair is cut. And then on another interview I saw, he said like how like they were like, "What did you do to prepare for this role?" He's like, "Well, I had to grow out my hair." So he's cut it now. Now, if they don't film for like another year, I suppose he could grow it back. But
Yeah,
it just
or do a
seemed
wig.
telling to me that
Well,
like,
again,
he
if
cut it.
there's that time gap and they
That's
move
true.
into the 90s,
They get rid of all the
Hair-
mullets.
yeah, the
and
hair-
stuff. Yeah.
the hair
Yeah,
is out of
that's fair.
style.
No more
It's gonna
business
be
in the
rat
front, party in
tails.
the back.
You're gonna
That's
see-
right, rat
Yeah,
tails.
God.
Way back when.
Did you guys have a rat tail?
I had a rat tail in kindergarten.
I would have guessed you had a rat
I had
tail.
a rat. Does that count?
I also had a rat.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a hamster.
Nah, I didn't have a hamster. I had a lizards. Wow, we got way off topic talking about from Stranger Things to hey, let's have a rat tail.
it's
in
early
that.
90s.
Stranger Things is nostalgia
Right.
driven. So like I think it's natural that at some point in this discussion we're going to talk about what it was like. Like the biggest thing that I think is different from my kids now to when I was a kid is like the bike thing. Now I didn't even live in town, but I still rode my bike everywhere. Like,
Oh, yeah.
My mom would drop me off in Waterville and I'd ride my bike all around
Well, I
town.
think parents were more trusting back then in the sense
they didn't
of
have that watchdog site where you could see all the pedophiles that are.
well, not only that, it's just
it's
they
like
didn't-
that. It's like the town has like
you're not
measles
being
or something.
constantly fear mongered as we are now.
Yeah.
So people were less likely to it's not about not caring. It's just you trusted your kid to go out and do stuff. You didn't assume anything bad would happen. And now it seems like everybody just assumes bad things are going to happen regardless. Because
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I used to ride my bike to elementary school. Back when I was that young, I rode my bike to elementary school. That's just what we did back in the days. We
now,
used to go on
now
bike
my
rides.
kids they just kind of plug in front of the iPad and stuff and
Right.
sit there.
I mean, the school buses have tinted windows now, so.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
For their safety.
How is that for their safety?
You can't see
Which
where the
kids?
kids
You
are on
can't
the
see
bus.
which kid's good looking. Like you said before.
No, you can't see if there's like a kid in the window.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
It's
mean?
like, I didn't know where you're going with that.
I still don't know where we're going. You can't see if
Pedophiles
there's a
can't
kid in the
shop
window.
through the window. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Shopping through the window or shooting through the
No
window?
window.
yeah,
shop.
I'm assuming of something of that nature.
Has somebody been shooting through bus windows that I don't know about?
No, but I'm assuming it's
they've
like
been shooting up
a level of
schools.
safety.
Oh, all right.
They
Well,
tint the
shooting up
windows.
stools is different than shooting up a bus. Just because you know where somebody's sitting.
Well, you don't know if there's kids on the bus or if it's full.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, never would have even thought about that part of it. But that's also something for Stranger Things too, with the bikes. That's what happened in season 1. Will is supposed to bike home from the D&D game
Yeah.
and never comes home.
And they find his missing bike, and they're like, "There's no way he'd leave this bike behind. This is like a Mercedes to these kids."
Right.
Yeah. Hopper, I think, says that.
But nobody kind of none of the parents really think twice about it.
It's
the
just so
sense of-
weird to me because, like, my kids' bikes are more like a quick little hobby thing. And I remember my bike, and I had all like the, it was a legit bike because I was riding it.
But I
all the
also-
my
time.
kids, their bike is like everything. Like Jaden rides his bike every day.
Yeah. Well, you live in town more, so I think, and he's older too.
Yeah.
So I
You
think
used
that's
to live in
probably-
town.
I know, but they
He was
weren't
living in my
old enough
house.
to ride around wherever they wanted.
Sure. But even when they are, I don't know if you'll allow them to.
Well, maybe not care.
You can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Till you're 30.
With this, though, with season 1 and Will driving over and then getting lost, it seemed to be at least if my recollection is correct, like the 80s and 90s when that fear kind of started. We got a little bit of it when we were growing up, but we didn't get it to the extent that the kids in the 2000s and 2010s and now 2020s that are really getting it, where most of the time the level of your activity seems to be in your own house or in your own yard, and usually some type of electronic device. But part of that isn't just because of being lazy or being easy. It is because of fear about going out and anything could happen. And that was part of the fun when we were kids. Like, if we're going to go biking on the trails, yeah, we're probably going to fall off. One person's going to get hurt, and we're all going to laugh at him.
Well, we went on adventures and knew like stuff could happen. I think that's kind of Stranger Things brings us back to that pre-bubble wrapped child environment where like kids could roam and have adventures, and apparently that means getting swallowed into another world and attacked by.
Those are stories you can tell for the rest of your life.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
what are these kids going to say now?
Oblivious.
I know. That's the thing that drives me nuts is the parents just don't seem to like. Winona Ryder gets it, and then Mike's parents.
Say her name again.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder.
I don't know, that chick who shoplifted. she gets it, but then Mike's parents are just like oblivious.
Yeah, a little bit, especially the dad.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
He's just the grumpy old dad.
Yeah, and then the mom tried to step out on the dad in season 3 with Billy.
With the Billy.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then she has second thoughts. Yeah, so the parents are oblivious. I also thought it was funny in this season they go about that whole thing, which was a real thing in the 80s, the cult, the aspect of everything being a cult, D&D being a cult. There were articles actually about that, about there being satanic cults.
Well, it's
like
not just the 80s. Like when Harry Potter first came out, it was like banned in places because people said witchcraft.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me, but you know.
Yeah, there are still some books today that banned.
Wasn't there a lot of cult things that happened in the 80s? I mean, you have like there
are a lot of cult things that happen now.
Well, like the comet chasers.
The comet chasers?
Yeah, the ones that all drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh, you're talking about the mass suicide attempt, yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a few of those, sure.
Was that how long ago was that? I don't know.
Oh no, that's all I can think of.
That was in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah,
with the Kool-Aid.
So, I mean, it'd be pretty fresh to them.
There was also all these. There was a lot of fear back then too about that type of stuff. Anything that people don't experience in their normal lives seems to end up being, when they hear about it, it's instantly bad, I don't want to learn anything else about it, I just know it's bad, and if it comes to my neighborhood's going to shit.
I just hope that if the kids have a time jump into the 90s, they go from D&D to Magic.
I doubt it.
Magic Gathering.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll still be playing D&D.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a big selling point of the show.
Maybe we'll see them playing Magic as well, but
I'm telling you, if we can get to 94, we can get there.
I think it's going to end 89. I think if we get a time jump at all, it's going to be 3 years.
Jump, really.
3 years.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it depends. I assume
you don't want to go too far because then the kids are supposed to be like 20, but
right. I guess it depends if, assuming they're going to use the same cast, then they'll have to not.
I mean, they're using the same cast.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but you never know.
I mean,
they could take a note out of it and just
jump forward. I can't see them doing that. Season 5, the last season, we're going to jump ahead. You'd watch everybody turn off their TVs. And also, how much further are they jumping in? Hopper and Winona Ryder going to be dead? Jumping 30 years in the future, they're all dead.
We don't even know if he survives this season. They haven't even left Russia yet.
That's true.
I mean, it would be kind of. I feel like if Hopper dies this season, it's meaningless because they pretty much
tried to make him survive the whole season.
Like, why did you?
You broke both your ankles to get free. Oh, yeah, I did.
Well, and it made sense if you're gonna kill him anyway. Kill him last season when he sacrificed himself. Like that's when you kill him. You don't
bring him back from
have us bring him back for a whole season just to kill him again.
Yeah. Again, the only reason I thought Hopper at all is just because of the connection with 11. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for the story. That's why I think
Mike.
Mike makes sense more so, especially because they got their little they reunited for like a day or two before everything went to shit.
So Mike, I think, would be the best story-wise, but what I think they probably
Mike, you're the best story-wise.
What I think they might actually do is, if they're going to actually kill somebody, I think it's going to be Will. Because, I mean, honestly, if Will disappeared tomorrow in the seasons, are you that affected by it?
I mean, without Will disappearing the first time, there's no series.
Sure, but since he's been back.
He was fine in season 2, fine in season 3. In season 2,
But
it was
of all
actually
the
a selling
kids,
point.
which one can you pluck out without making the biggest impact?
Also, now I've already forgotten his name. Lucas?
Lucas has the
he's-
tie to Max, though, too. So, like,
Well, Lucas
that
is
will
also
have
the
an
one that
impact.
is like evolving from being the nerd, though.
Sure.
Too. So,
But
you kinda-
that only happened this season.
Right.
Like, if I look back at season 2 and season 3, Lucas is nothing.
well, true, but like you don't have major character development just to off him. Like Will has
Yeah.
no character development.
Yeah,
in
he
this
literally
episode.
Have
has
you
to
not
develop
seen
it.
Walking Dead? Walking Dead, almost every time they give one character development, they die at the end of that episode.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
but a
But,
main character.
but I don't think Lucas is going anywhere. I think it's probably Will, but I think it would be better story-wise if it was Mike, because that would be a significant loss.
Yeah.
I think, like, Will is the
Odd man out.
easy out.
Although, if you killed Mike, now you're just throwing 11 to the wolves because she was much more likely to join 1 if there is no tie to the real world.
Sure, but if
She doesn't
she's the
think
one that
Hopper's
kills
alive.
Mike, if she's the if Vecna is the one that kills Mike, I can't see her joining. If anything, she'd kill Vecna and take Vecna's spot.
I also kind of see it making sense. Like, if Mike died, you have 11 and you have Will, who both were in love with Mike, right?
Yep.
And they can they'll have a shared grief experience, which I think will be good to see on film.
Potentially good
yeah.
to see. Let's say that. It could
Well,
also be super, I don't want to watch this. Let's skip
Awkward.
this. Yeah.
And then I can see them almost like going at like vengeance in season 5.
Going after, Vecna's got to be dead. I have to assume at the end of this season. So they have to be going after this thing to put it to bed once and for all. Because how often, this is the 4th season, and that means that the Upside Down keeps taking people or keeps being a pain in the ass for 4 years or however long it's been in their world. Don't you think at some point you're going to go, okay, how do we fix this so they stop coming into our world?
Maybe what will happen is they'll kill Mike, and that will trigger something in Will, who was exposed to the Upside Down and still has a connection to it, and he'll gain some kind of...
I don't know. They haven't shown his
Upside
connection
down
since
power.
season 2.
I know, but it existed more than any of the other kids, so I feel like you could go that route with it, but I don't know. Either way, I'm excited for it.
I'm also questioning how Will survived for that entire first season, being who he was.
Really good at hide and seek.
Apparently. So the new season, or I should say the last part of season 4, comes out very early July, I believe.
I think it's like July 1.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
very early. So
The earliest.
with that, we've got 2 episodes. Are you guys planning on July 1 watching?
Oh, yeah.
I just had a thought that literally just popped into my head. We know that there's a time gap between the real world and the Upside Down, because Nancy says that in her bedroom.
So nothing has changed in the Upside Down since when Will first went missing.
Right, so there's like a time gap between the two.
So it's not really a time gap, because it doesn't look like time has changed at all in the Upside Down since Will got transported over. It looks like the Upside Down potentially got created when Will got sucked in.
Well, it's going to be earlier than that because one
I thought it got created when she basically pushed him in.
one into the Upside Down.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So we could see in season 5 the time jump being there in the Upside Down to fight Vecna. When Vecna is gone, it pushes forward, and then they go back into the real world, and the real world has changed 3 years.
Maybe. That's possible. It's nothing that they've done so far, so it might be an interesting take. That'd be a good way to end the season.
Right.
You defeat Vecna, you get out of the Upside Down, it's 3 years later,
And
everybody
your
thinks you're
parents,
dead.
your parents have been you've been missing for,
For
3
3
years.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be an interesting, but I don't know where you'd go from there in the sense of the Upside Down should then be done with, so to speak, with Vecna being gone, unless they still have that main villain. If they still have the main villain, then why'd we leave the Upside Down to begin with?
Good because they were just trying to get rid of Vecna.
Yeah.
I guess.
Vecna might be the reason why it hasn't changed in that amount of time.
Maybe Vecna kills somebody like Mike, and they go after him for revenge. Like Eleven's like, we're gonna kill him, and
Yeah,
then when
maybe.
they do, it jumps ahead time.
It's possible,
I could see
especially
that.
with everything with him with time. Well, not so much. He doesn't control time, but he with the clock and everything.
Right.
That
There's
might
a
be-
very big foreshadowing of time.
Yeah. So I asked Corey. Corey's gonna watch it. Sounds like right away, right when it comes out, the first 2 episodes or the next 2 episodes.
I'm not sure. Is July 1 like a Friday or something?
I think it's a Friday.
Then yeah, I'll watch it Friday night probably. Yeah.
And Mike, are you gonna plan on binging it that weekend? Those 2 episodes?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the same here. Potentially even wait until it's about to come out, like because I think it probably comes out at like what 3 a.m.
Usually the stuff's like 3 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
on
Although-
Netflix.
The second is the UFC.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
So
Well,
I'd
that's
have to
why
watch
I
it
just
Friday.
have
I'd
to.
have to watch 3.5 hours Friday night after I get out of work at 8.
That sounds
So-
doable to me.
Yeah, make it happen.
Two 1 a.m. days right in a row.
I'm gonna text you Friday night at 12 and just spoil it. So you better watch it.
All right. Noted. Don't open any messages from Corey until July 4th.
So, but we will be doing another episode on this once that airs. I think we have a few episodes in between then and now, but we will get back to talking about Stranger Things to wrap up the final season, and then hopefully with what that gives us for the 4 hours of content, it gives us an idea of where to go for season 5, and I think we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, knowing however they end season 4. Any final thoughts on Stranger Things?
It's awesome.
It is awesome. I'll give you that.
Loved it. Love episode 4.
Oh my god!
Best episode of the season.
That'll do it for this episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom. Join us next week. We'll actually be having our first 4-man broadcast. We're going to be joined by Casey, who's going to do his best to enlighten us on anime. We'll be watching some shows like One Punch Man, Castlevania, and probably some others to dip our toes into this world.